Finally, a break in the traffic. Ethan wanted to slam down on the accelerator, spin his wheels, and spray the reporter with mud and snow, but he couldn't. Everything, every single thing he did was a reflection on Jack, a reflection on the President of the United States. He revved his engine once, a warning, and then rolled forward. The camera squealed across his window. The reporter pounded on the glass, repeated her questions, almost shouting, and then he was out of the parking lot, back on the main road. He floored it, speeding off as the camera tracked him. A few blocks away, he ditched the sunglasses, throwing them onto the passenger seat. 3 months in exile. 3 months of living in Des Moines, Iowa, away from Washington, D.C., his friends, and the love of his life. Jack Spires, President of the United States. He thunked his head back against the headrest as his fingers kneaded the steering wheel. 3 months of counting the days, and sometimes the hours, until he could see Jack again. He lived for the weekends, for Friday evening through Sunday night when he flew to D.C., and the 48 hours that were just him and Jack. If he squinted while he was there, it was almost like it had been before everything came out, when they were hiding what they had become together, and when Ethan had been Jack's Secret Service lead agent, at his side, always just a handbreadth away. Day in and day out, they'd been at each other's side, inseparable. But every weekend ended, and Sunday night came, and with it, another flight back to Des Moines. Ethan glared at the clock in his dash. It was too early to go back to his apartment and do anything but bang around within the empty walls and sulk, and too late to go back to work and expect to get anything done. Still, he turned for the office, heading back downtown. At the least, he could work out in the private gym for agents assigned to the federal building. FBI, DEA, ATF, Secret Service, and Customs all shared one building. All the agents also seemed to share in their wide-eyed, horrified distance from Ethan. He moved like a pariah, as though he had been branded with a scarlet letter, and anyone who came near him would suffer the same catastrophic fall from grace, from the most prestigious posting in the Secret Service, leading the presidential detail and personally protecting the president, to puzzling through small-time counterfeiting investigations out of a tiny field office in the Midwest, and giving those investigations up to another agent, a junior agent, and running from the media. He waited at the stoplight downtown just before the turn into the federal building's garage, listening to his wipers scrape snow off the windshield. The red traffic light blurred through the slush on his glass, tinting the inside of his sedan a dark crimson. Christmas lights stretched overhead, arching over streets and between buildings. Evergreen garlands clung to street lights, and LED wreaths hung at every intersection. Over the weekend, Christmas had descended, just days after Thanksgiving. If he'd known then what he knew now, would he do it all again? Make the same choices, take the same risks? Kiss Jack, the president, his sworn duty, his job, and throw caution to the wind, going against his very bones, his dedication to his career, and the Secret Service? The wipers slid against the glass again, squeaking, and the light turned green. His tires slipped on the snow, skidding out, but he slogged across the intersection and turned into the underground parking garage. Of course he would. Those 48 hours each week with Jack made everything else worth it, made bearable the isolation, the intrusive media, the sidelong glares and bitten-off conversations. How his toes would curl as they kissed. Jack's smile, and the way his eyes lit up for Ethan alone. How Jack had looked at him when he'd burst into the Oval Office, gunfire cracking the air, taking out Jeff Gottschalk and Black Fox's operatives, like Ethan was his whole world, the sun rising in the sky just for him. Ethan had never loved anyone like he loved Jack, and he'd never been loved by anyone the way Jack loved him. It was still new, just 6 months old, but that love had remade Ethan's entire world. So far, he'd put up with anything, everything, as long as Jack kept looking at him like that, kept loving him like that. But it had been over 2 weeks since he had last been with Jack. Every weekend,